What up? It's Ibn Webb, Quran the Sum here. Got another of these official think situations going down here. Flattered to have the gentleman coming on here. Jojo Walters, Newark City native, done allowed that basketball and sports and family, this Newark, being in Newark himself, just, that pedigree that he had allowed him to do a lot of things with his life here. Obviously we'll talk a lot about his basketball playing days or what have you there, but looking forward to just hearing everything else about him, growing up, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, I'm just completely flattered that he's willing to jump on. So we're just gonna hold tight and get to it. Hey, good. You looking good. I'm checking you out. You looking good. How you doing, sir? I'm Ibn Webb. How are you? Nice to put a face in the name and a voice.
Brother, I'm blessed and highly favored, man.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Nah, I totally appreciate this. Like I said, and like I said, when we talk, like I said, this thing done grew some legs, but the thing is, I think I'm more flattered than probably the people that I'm talking to, because like I said, just hearing their names throughout my travels, whether it was early on as a kid or even as an adult, new names keep popping up. I'm like, wow, I didn't know about him. I didn't know about her, so like I said, this is just kind of my way of just like just saying thanks to all you guys.
Well,
I appreciate it.
Let me start off by telling you how thankful I am that, because you're around the age of my younger brother.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They're more technology, social networking, driven. And these old stories, with these generational athletes from different decades, hearing the journey, is really important, because the journey is basketball is life, sports is life. And hearing the journey becomes a great testimony to all the different generations to know that, hey, man, we've been successful and been struggling. And then you can really chart the progress. So, going back, have an opportunity to tell a story, because my son is running away from me. He didn't want to hear it anymore. I'm like, let me show you this speech. Like, Dad, you told the story 1,000 times, So.
Yeah, how many times you gonna remix it? Right.
Right, you're gonna remix it, and I live here in Maryland, so and I've been here since '97.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
No, definitely.
Without any further ado, please follow through, and whatever questions you got, I'm.
Cool. I mean, I know you mentioned Maryland. Let's take it up 95 there. As far as, were you born in Newark, or how did it start for you as far as just being in Newark?
Okay, I am an original Newarker, dude. So my father, just a quick history. My father probably came here on the Love Boat at 17.
Okay.
Crazy story. My mother probably came from the plantations in the South, and they all migrated up to Newark.
Okay.
And my father got off a boat, I found out. He probably was one of those illegal immigrant guys, he got off the boat 17 and started a life in Newark, So they've been there ever since, and from two different parts of the world, but together, just down with the struggle, So I was born on Somerset Street.
Okay.
Okay, that's my earliest childhood. Somerset Street, right across from Stella Wright Homes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I'm playing up and down the street, and I just remember the little small projects over there. And my first school was Monmouth Street School, which converted to Quitman. And I was the first kid to carry my chair from Monmouth Street over into Quitman Street School.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first, my earliest childhood memories, like in grammar school, first, second grade, so forth. And then I think my mother and father must have gotten lucky and hit the number or something, because they played the numbers back then. They hit the number. And I remember they moved up on 7th Street and bought the first house, which is still there. And we moved into that house. And that's probably getting more formidable, like 5 and 6.
Okay.
And I was going to grammar school at 14th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, life happens a little bit, because, when you're living in an urban environment with a lot of young Black males, even going to grammar school, like walking to school, getting to the first corner, somebody's trying to take your money. So you're learning some life lessons about survival right there.
Absolutely.
You get to the playground, and I got all these older guys, and they got the young guys, bucking up on each other, and you're just learning how to find your place, in this kind of, wolf pack kind of thing, like you're learning, hey, you can't be soft in class. You got 43 people in the same class, so we sharing seats, So So 14th Avenue was interesting. I just remember it was 43 of us in one grammar school class.
Ooh.
And it was like, can you imagine that? I mean, come on, the school was overcrowded, So it was this African teacher, Miss Jones. She's the one that changed my life and my younger brother's life. Cause I was fighting every day there. I was just not there. I was the kid that we would jump out and say, get back in line. What do you, or if he was a bully, you probably was going to fight me. That's just how I was, I was just like that. So they was wondering what was wrong because I was fighting all the time, but you couldn't help it. You got the kids from Lilton Avenue, kids are just doing what they do. So, but we got bused and it was during segregation. We got bused from this African teacher told my mother, if you want to save your son, get him out of here. Mm-hmm. And so me and my younger brother, who's 2 years younger than me, we got bused up to Mount Vernon. So we lived on 7th Street, but we took the 54 bus up to Mount Vernon and Ivy Hill.
Okay.
And that was the first experience of diversity. Even though Newark was still kind of diverse, like you can get a good corned beef sandwich on the corner. You can get Italian sub over here. You had the Sopranos over here. You can get some spaghetti and meatballs.
Right.
But now I'm in the 4th grade with these kids, and we got Greek kids, Jewish kids, kids from Lithuania, one of my best friends, so we're getting bussed up there and all these cultures are fusing. I think when I got there, some of the things that I learned when I got there was they had a beautiful library with a Dewey Decimal System and cards. We had
Dewey Decimal System. Yeah.
We had no books. It was like no library, and I'm going, oh, this is different. Then I realized that in the 4th grade, all the people that got bused there, we couldn't read, so that was a catch up. But so the really safe outlet was intramurals, and that's where, so what happened to me was very early. I was really fast. I could jump. I was a really good athlete, and, you had who's the fastest on the block, who's the whatever. Yeah. I was the kid. I was always winning the races. I could jump. But I think in one of your interviews with Lou, when I was a kid, I used to play with grown men. They would have me running as a running back. So there was no Pop Warner, or anything like that. So you weren't taught the fundamentals of football. You just played on the concrete or you played in the empty lots, Yeah. So I ended up, before getting to Mount Vernon, I compound fractured my kneecap and ripped all the ligaments up in my left knee. Mm-hmm. And so sports was not anything that I thought was going to, I didn't have any aspirations of playing basketball or football. We just was competing on the block.
Right.
That was it. And nobody singled me out like he's going to be the guy or he's the protege or, So long story short, I get there. We do the intramurals. We graduate. And then instead of going, so now I'm on 7th Street. West Side is 2 blocks away. My old brother and sister's going there. Mm-hmm. Barron's is on the other side over there past Central Avenue. Central's down the hill and West Side's right up 2 blocks away. So me and my younger brother, since we made friends with them dudes, in grammar school, we decided we're going to go to Valsburg.
Okay, that's how that.
So we're taking the bus all the way from down the hill every day back to Valsburg High School. Mm-hmm. Because some of our friends went there from Mount Vernon. Mm-hmm. Seton Hall was right over there. We used to run around Ivy Hill Park. But we'd always have to take the bus and go back down the hill. So the sports thing started with going out for basketball. I was a freshman. And I remember me and my 3 friends, we went out and we went up to that locker and that list was there and we was cut. And we're like, man, we cut. We didn't make the JV.
Yeah.
So on my block, everybody was, everybody had legendary ball players from Central. So as soon as you get on the block, the older dudes, the old heads are sitting on the corner, like, you Seth, Jojo, what's up, man? I'm like, did you make the team? You're like, oh, like, man, what happened, man? So now you're getting beat up. Mm-hmm. Like you're embarrassed. You ain't make the team. You scrub, So I'd go, but I would do other things. Like I would go out for track. I would try cross country. I loved the athletics, right? Mm-hmm. And so then I went out for football. I was good at football, but the injury I was telling you I sustained when I was younger, I was always afraid of somebody hitting that knee again.
Okay,
it just haunted me, because
they play football like that, yeah.
And they was like, man, you're going to be a great defensive end, and you could be a receiver, and I never got the fundamentals of playing like with Pop Warner or with a safe group your age or learning how to tackle. I was big and fast, strong, and but I, just wasn't there. So I made the football team. And I think my sophomore year, I got on the football team again. And then something just told me this wasn't it. Mm-hmm. Basketball, I made the JV.
You did, okay.
Yeah, I'm on the JV. So I'm doing something. My father don't even know I play. My oldest brothers and them, they don't know I play because they got
really.
Yeah, they don't even know I'm playing. They're like, man, what you playing now? What you wrestling? What you running cross country? So I think I played JV. And then my oldest brother's like, man, you gotta be a dog, nigga. You gotta be stronger than everybody else. You gotta run cross country. When everybody's tired, you gotta keep going. I had one of them kind of guys, right?
Yeah.
And I believed him. So I would do stuff like run from 7th Street up to the South Orange Mountain Reservations and back. I would run from 7th Street up to Cameron Field, sprint up and down the hill, start doing push-ups and sit-ups, and then run back home. And then go and start shooting. Yeah. Then I figured out how to get to the Orange Y. I used to go up in the Orange Y and swim and work out in the water because I learned how to swim. So they'd be like, what is he doing now? What's he running around like that? I don't know what I was getting ready for, but all I knew is when the time came, I was going to be ready. Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, I never played in a summer league. I never played in any organized sports.
Okay.
So where I learned to play at was I was a block away from the boys club, West Side Boys Club. Mm-hmm. But I never went inside. I would stay in the back in the playground, and I would stay there and just shoot around like all day to 12 midnight because it was more fun to be back there than home because the lights was out, probably the water was off. Mm-hmm. So it was more fun just to be out there. So I would stay out there and just shoot around, run up and down the court. Everybody go home. I'd stay out there. So people was like, he crazy. What's going on with him? And I would just be shooting, and it was for no reason because it wasn't like I was selected for the AAU or I was chosen to be this or I was on the club and I wasn't playing with nobody, nowhere, no summer leagues ever.
Okay.
But I was dreaming. I was having in my mind, I was hearing buzzers go off and, and I would get down and do push-ups. Like I'm getting ready for something. And so my junior year, all the kids that were sophomores that were on varsity that were ahead of me, I made the varsity. So I'm sitting there on the bench. This is when all of a sudden it's like, muscle memory. It's like this dream happens. Like it's all of a sudden something clicks into reality. And I just talked to the guy. He played football and basketball, dual sports. And he was a little bigger and more muscular as a freshman, so he's bigger. Now I'm catching up. I'm a junior. Right. I'm sitting there, and his name was Albert Hughes, good friend of mine. He gets in a fight, and he gets suspended. So the coach at the time at Vailsburg was Joe Baker. And he came and said, Jojo, you starting? And I'm like, me? Like surprised, like, okay. Because I never complained. I never had a bad attitude. All I knew is I'm on the team. And when he says go, I'm going. So we were playing Clifford Scott. And they were big. They came in, they were ranked. Mm-hmm. And the guys that were seniors and juniors, they were afraid. They were like, man, who's going to play? I wasn't saying nothing because they thought I was a scrub. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at these guys like, why are they I don't like no punk. You acting scared. I ain't saying nothing. So the coach said, Jojo, you starting. So I'm like, okay. So I go out there, the ball tips, and all I can tell you is whatever I was dreaming or visualizing at the boys club happened that day. I dropped 40. I had 40 points. The first start, 40 points, broke the school record. Everybody's like, I don't even know that I did it. And I probably shot 60-something%. Just crazy. Some of my friends from Scott, they're like, Joe, you don't understand. That was crazy because the game was 84-81. And I scored 40 of our points. Mm-hmm. So it was crazy. So I just remember being in the locker room and I'm not quite knowing what happened. Mm-hmm. All I know is people were talking. See, when you're in that zone, you're not hearing something. It's like you're not hearing it. It just happens.
Yes.
So I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm a junior, not starting. And now I done broke the school record and it comes out in the Star Ledger. Mm-hmm. My father don't even know I'm playing, but he's playing the horses. He's over at the Longshoremen's Hall. Mm-hmm. And he says, some of the guys says, Joe, your name's in the paper. He's telling my father. Mm-hmm. He said, let me see that. Jojo Walters breaks Vailsburg's, 30-something year record. And he's like, he calls my brother, Jim, Jojo playing ball. He said, look in the paper. Mm-hmm. And this is how it started. I'm a junior. All of a sudden, they're like, what? Now they're at the games.
Yeah.
But I'm not starting, and I'm not complaining. But when they would put me in the games, I would go in and I would get by a 20 and a half or 20 and a quarter. I would just get numbers and I had a crazy vertical and I all that muscle memory from shooting Plus I was running track. I was an athlete. I was fast too. I was a hard guard. You know, if you're a small guard, I'm going to probably jump over you. And if you're a big guy, I'm going around you and dunking on you. So it was kind of a tough guard, you know. So the city league kicks off. And now I'm just like suddenly realizing like, oh no, man, so I have one more outburst and then my senior year comes. Okay. So now this is it. So I go on a tear. I go 33, 37, 40, 42, 43, 44. I'm like just week way, you know, it was just on Facebook just recently. I had 43 and 22 on them at Clinton Place Junior High.
Right over there, Clinton. Yeah.
And they, you know, and I was me and this white guy, Joe DeZalonis, we were the tallest on the team. Mm-hmm. So I remember we went there, Lorenzo Daniels, Davies there, Nate Granger, everybody's there watching, you know, they were older than us. So they were there. So we got in the gym, it was standing room only. And this was a big moment for me in Newark.
Yeah.
They were laughing because like Dellsburg, them little corny guys were coming down here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of here. And the game clicks off and I go into one of them zone things I was just telling you about. Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm just going through, I had 42 and 22. I'm 6'1.5", you know, and we beat them, you know, and everybody's like traumatized, like take him out the game. Don't let him get 50 or 60. Cause that's what it was going, you know?
Yeah.
I was about to get sick. I mean, my coach would take me out after I would get 40 with a quarter to go, you know, cause I could have been doing 50, 55, 6, you know, no 3-point line, and shooting 60% easy.
Yeah.
And it was weird. So I kept doing it. Newark Tech 43, you know, Irvin Tech, Mark Coleman, he played with Greg and them at Seton Hall, 37, you know, we beat them, you know, I just kept doing it. So so now we're going for city champs, you know, I'm Central. So here's what happened. Central had Earl Williams. These guys are all AAU guys, all the guys that were all state, all county. These were the picks.
Okay.
So now the season's over. I lead the city of Newark in scoring, 7 highest games scored in the city. We're like second place or runners up for the city championship. Me and Edgar Jones battled for it at Barringer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and me and Edgar battled for it. We beat Weekway, Shabazz, Central, crushed all. I was good. I was averaging almost 40 on all those schools. And we were beating. And it was like, can't believe Velsburg is beating these guys. So then me and Edgar, we battled for the thing. Later on, we'll find out me and him ended up All-Americans together in college, everything, you know. So all of a sudden the things come out. I'm not on no all city stuff, like really nothing, you know, and I'm going, and I don't have no letters, not one letter, division 1, 2, 3, 4, nothing. No college visit, no coach, nothing. Yeah. So we're like, wait a minute, no scholarship to college, nothing, right? So my family, I'm sitting, my oldest brother, he's a retired teacher, Big Black. He used to be like, this is some bull, you know, he would go off. I wouldn't say nothing. He went to the Star-Ledger and met with the guy that writes the fifth quarter article and said, how could my brother lead the city of Newark in scoring and not be all county, all state? Like, what's going on? Like, this is ridiculous. The guy's like, well, you know, let me pull the folder out. So they brought my coach with them. And he pulled out the folder with all the high school files in it. And he pulled our file out. We had no stats. He says, up to the coach to send the stats in. Nobody sent anything in. And so it's like, wow. So they look at my coach. It's like, he's a new coach, first year. Maybe you didn't know. So now the guy writes another article, players that were overlooked, but it's too late now. Scholarship's gone. So I think what happened was, for some reason, I didn't know what happened. I didn't think I was good because I got no letters. You know, they're like, man, you crushed it. I'm like, dude, I don't know that, you know, because I'm not getting no love here. So long story short, and this really was a setup for life. There was a teacher, and he's a friend of mine now. His name is John Listner. He's from Elizabeth City, North Carolina, where Lou coaches. And he was a teacher at Camden Middle School, where my older sister and brother were substitute teachers. And they said, why don't you come check my brother out? And they said, well, who is he playing? And he said, Newark Central. He's like, well, my boy Earl Williams plays for them. That was one of my students. You can't touch Earl, you know. And so my sister and older brother, true story, they said, we will bet you our paycheck. They probably wasn't making much, that my brother was going to do, you know. So he said, all right, I want to take your money. So they come up to the gym. I get 33 3/4. We bust him up. And so after the game, he's like, wait a minute. He ain't got no school to go to. He said, from what I just saw, I'm in disbelief. So this is nice. This is what was the nicest thing somebody ever did for me. He said, look, man, I'm from Elizabeth City. I'm going to put you in my station wagon. I'm going to drive you to North Carolina. I'm going to bring you to the coach and I'm going to beg him to give you a tryout.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, hey, anything's better than nothing. Because my father had just went to prison. It was like, lights is out. The game's not going good. And I'm not connected like to the boys clubs league. I'm not connected. Weequahic had a very solid basketball environment, like Orange and East Orange. There were solid basketball environments and teams. I wasn't participating in nothing. It was like I was always kind of like where I lived. It was West Side. I didn't go to the park. I didn't have a car, and I didn't travel. I just go to the back, the club, and just stay there all day. So he takes me down there, and this first time I ever left Newark. I went all the way down there, man. I'm like looking around. I'm thinking down south is like where my mom is from, South Carolina. It's corn and cows, ain't nothing to do. And she was telling me about, all the systemic racism that she encountered. And I'm like nervous and, excuse me.
No problem.
So the guy gets me there, and this is kind of ignorant, but also true facts. He gets me there and I'm like looking around because I haven't looked at a map. I didn't look at the geography. He said North Carolina, I couldn't place Virginia Beach right next to there. That North Carolina and Virginia kind of borders each other.
That's about an hour and a half from Virginia Beach, right? Yeah.
Right, it's right there. I'm thinking it's the corn, the cows. So long story short is we get there, and I'm still like a high school kid trying to figure out, like, I ain't getting no letters to college. So your ego's not pumped because you're not thinking you're good. All you know is you drop these numbers and say, we saw you in the paper. So he says, okay, we go into this big gym in the middle of a field. And we go in there, it's like dust on the floor. We go up to these two coaches and they said, this your boy right here? He said, okay, he's kind of short, but we'll see what he could do. So I just remember, dude, if the door opens, all the team comes out the cafeteria into the gym. This was the biggest team they ever had, 6'10", 6'9", 6'7". The guard, Doug Hudson, was 6'4", from Roanoke Rapids, and his buddy Rock. Then he had three guards from New York that had already recruited. Sleepy, from the Bronx that had the handles and things. Then they had a guy from Newport News. His father was a scout for the Virginia Squires. He's on the team shooting a perfect jumper. And, then you get all these other big Mandinka. I'm like, I'm in the Planet of the Apes. This is like crazy. I'm like, this is nuts, because I'm going from high school to saying, okay, either you're going to get a scholarship or going back to no lights.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember, so the guy looked at me with his gold tooth. He's like, all right, boy, go on, do what you told me, what I seen now. Come on. So the coaches is laughing, smirking. I go in the corner and pray.
Yeah.
I went in the corner and prayed, and my legs were shaking. And I started getting like, my eyes were swelling up, and I was getting angry, like, like almost like a David Goliath spirit. Like I started feeling like, no, I don't know where this was coming from. But all I know is I was ready for battle. So the guy said, okay, go. So we went out there, man. I just went all through these dudes, up, over, around, I don't even know what I did. I went into the zone. So I go back over to the two coaches, and I'm thinking I'm going to get, hey, thanks for coming down, nice try, whatever. And they looked at me and said, do you want us to fly you home or sign you now? I'm like, huh? Because again, I ain't got a letter, so I have no indication that anybody that had really any value to a coach. And I said, well, I got to go talk to my father, so they gave me a 4-year scholarship. So my father was happy. He ain't have no money. He's like, man, let's go get you a trunk from Universal's. I got a big old trunk, and they started going in, sardines, and hey, man, take these here, boy, you're going to college, pack that trunk up. And I remember getting on campus, and I was a little different because when I got there, my father was a very interesting guy. I was honored to have someone that had such discipline, and he was principled. And, he was always like, be the real deal, put the work in. By the sweat of your brow, you earn bread. Nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. So when I got on campus, all the dudes was chasing girls. I was running up in the bushes, running, like getting ready. So I was always getting ready. So back then, they didn't play freshmen. So I would go and practice and tear these dudes apart. I mean, tear them apart, not knowing it, but my rage or whatever was in me would come out on the court. I'm tap dunking on 6'10" jokers and stripping guards and dunking lefty, shooting. I'm just going, just raging. And my mother, she was a big part of my story. She left when I was 12. She never seen me play, except when I was a senior at Manhattan. Now we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
And I would always play like she was watching. Like, my mom got to be proud of me. I'm going to do something crazy. I'm breaking something. My motivation was like, I got to be the best. I got to win something. So the coach would take the kids on the road. They would come back. And then, the people that didn't make the road trip would come together. So I'm like, man, making a road trip? This is crazy. But never complaining. So I went down south while they were on the road to visit my mother. I found her in South Carolina. I went and stayed with her in her trailer. Mom, we didn't, we was loving on each other. And I forgot which time to go to report back. So they thought I quit and went back to Jersey. And then when I realized that I was late, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my scholarship. I'm scared.
Yeah.
So I get there and they played Winston-Salem. That's where Cleo Hill went.
Right.
One of Cleo's top players was a guard there, Tom Paulin. He's from Newark.
Mm-hmm.
Tom got 43 on them. And so when they came back, there's like, your homeboy, man, he dropped 43 on us. So I get into practice and the Coach Bobby Vaughn, he recently died. He's a legend down there. He looks up and he sees me. I'm thinking he's going to like scold me. Like, man, where you been, boy? You got to be on time. He's like, we're going to start playing some of the other players like Jojo. I'm like, me? Okay, here we go again. Okay. So that was a big breakthrough moment. But what happened was when they were leaving me at the dorm and going on the road trips, I'm looking at TV in the student lounge. And Rutgers is on there going 25-0. The ACC's on, Syracuse and St. John's. And I'm watching that going, and that voice was saying, you're supposed to be there, not here. And so the CIAA tournament kicked off. I'm playing now. I'm going, they put me in the games. I'm getting 17, 16. They're calling up the North, Shaw University, St. Aug. They're calling back home. Joe was down here killing. But for some reason, I was like, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
So I gave the scholarship back. The guy wrote me a beautiful letter of recommendation because I made the vice chancellor's list, never in trouble. And I was a killer. He said I was a combination of Phil Ford and David Thompson.
Okay.
Fast, and it was explosive.
Go up, yeah.
I could go up crazy and on whatever side, I'm getting it. And so he wrote me a letter and said I could come back if I wanted to. And at the CIAA tournaments, Tom Paulin introduced me to the legendary Cleo Hill. Mm-hmm. And I had never met him because I was never like in Shabazz or Weekway. I wasn't in any of the circles. And Tom said, hey, he's from Newark, coach. This is Jojo. He wants to come and play for you. And Cleo looks at me. He says, oh, really, mister? I don't know. You can come and try it. I don't know if you can make my team. I'm like, okay, sir. So I come back to Newark, and I go down to Essex. And I got to tell you, when I got down to Essex, everybody in Essex County, Passaic County, Union County that went to school and came back, everybody was there. Yeah. From Delaware, New York, Philly, everybody, dudes that was on 25-0 teams that took Group 4-2 state, they're all there. And I'm looking like, wow, this is crazy. So tryouts start. And I'm digging, I'm back into my zone. I'm like, competition is not a problem for me. Mm-hmm. I'm just, and Cleo, we ain't talking, but he's watching me because he's got me because I'm a guard, but I can go get rebounds. And Cleo was the first coach now. Now I finally got a coach because I could score going in, but he taught me the offensive cycle. And that's something, if you talk to his sons, it's something that Michael Jordan, guys that are pure scorers that are very efficient, that score 60%, 70% shooters, you're 10 for 12 or 9 for 11, stuff like that. So he taught me all the fundamentals, the two-man plays, how the footwork. And man, he was a killer. Like he ran us, man. Like, we run the projects. We went 29-3, and we should have won all the games. And it was crazy because my family, again, was like, you're not starting my brother. And so I averaged 21-9 playing 2 quarters, 9 rebounds. I shot 63.7 from the field, 7th best in the nation. and we went 29-3. And there was another guy that was averaging 27, and he was a third-team All-American, JUCO.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was 7th in the nation in field goal percentage. And Manhattan College was, you know, at that time, Manhattan College was straight Division I, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Connecticut, Seton Hall, Temple. I mean, it's everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They came to scout him. And so Cleo had me on, you know, I was on the bench like, man, you know, I never complained. I'm like, I'm just waiting. Coach put me in, I'm going off. So I remember he threw me in, and I was starting to feel like that feeling like I'm never going to get a good scholarship nowhere. Maybe I made a mistake because I didn't have nothing coming out of high school. You know, then I went to Elizabeth City. That didn't work. There's another year gone. Now I'm at the JUCO. I'm coming off the bench, but we're winning. You know, we're 30. I think we were 30-3 or something like that. But when you put me in, I would end up with no less than 20. You know, 18 to 25 in 2 quarters. I could have probably averaged 40 there, but it was okay because he played me to win. He told me later. So Manhattan came in to get Eric, as I recall. And I saw Cleo talking to them, big Irish dudes. You know, this is Seton Hall. This is Jesuit. This is the Garden. And I'm sitting there like admiring, like, wow, man, he's going to get it. You know, I haven't talked to no colleges at this point. So I remember the game was over and I was sitting in the thing sweating, but I never gave Cleo no headaches. If he said, Walters, get in, pew, you know, all right, come out, no problem. Always in class. But when they came, they said, Eric's over here. And they said, no, we want to talk to Jojo. And I'm like, me? So next thing you know, that one season's over. I wake up, I'm in Madison Square Garden, and I'm on one side of the court and Georgetown's down there.
Yeah.
You ready to be on now, bro. You know, this ain't no Division III. This is Connecticut, Syracuse, Temple, Georgetown. And I was built for that moment. So they got John Thompson's there. He's got Bebe Dorn, Sleepy Floyd came the next year. They don't know who I am because I'm not Street and Smith, nothing, no McDonald's, nothing. I'm just a dude that's a transfer. So I go in and we started, and I had one guy on my team, he was a senior, Steve Grant. He went to the Atlanta Hawks. And the guy I replaced at Manhattan, Ricky Marsh, he played for the Golden State Warriors. You know, he started for them. They brought me in to replace him. So we get Georgetown. I dropped 22 at halftime. I'm giving it to him. I'm about to get 40. We're beating them by 24 points. And Thompson is like, what the hell? You know, he's upset. So this was like a breakthrough moment because I'm going right from the junior college bench to the Garden. I'm starting from Manhattan. I'm in the Garden and it's packed and we're playing Georgetown. And I'm about to get 40 on them in the Garden. So what happened was they pressed us. My homeboy Sergio, you know, he came from Union Hill. His partner played in the backcourt with Greg Tynes at Seton Hall.
Okay.
Me and him both we was tearing them up. He's like, I don't care who the best in the East. We're going to find out because we tearing up everybody. So we just did St. John's, Reggie Carter. We destroyed them. We had all the guards that was supposed to be something. I'm like, bring them. Let's do them. We were doing them. And we had Georgetown done. They put that press on. They pressed their way back. So that was my junior year. So what happened was, I think it was, once I clicked in that, you know, that I belong here and I could dominate these dudes too, I went for the last 12 games in a row. I didn't score under 20 points and I didn't shoot under 64%. You know, so then all of a sudden it's like St. John's, we went up. Oh, here's the big game. This was the funny game my junior year. I went to Vailsburg. See, I think they just started doing cable, right?
Okay.
Started doing cable. My girlfriend was from Orange on Tremont Avenue.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And they used to come get me and bring me up there. And I'd be sitting up there with her and her dad and them. And, so now we're going to play Seton Hall right there. And somebody was saying something, you know, and but again, Vailsburg's right there, Ivy Hill. I went to Vailsburg, you know, Rafferty never taught. I never, you know, got a talk or anything for Raff. So we go in, you know, and they was retiring Glenn Mosley's jersey. And me and my boy Serge and my boy Big Steve Grant, we went in there and we just tore their tail up. You know, they had Greg and Nikki in the backcourt, and they were phenomenal guards, you know, but they were there for 4 years. I'm just a junior. I'm coming as a junior. So I go off. I'm getting it. Boom. I'm down. I'm like, who wants it? I'm Mark Coleman. We getting it. We beat them. And that was like, and so now I'm in Newark, really, you know what I'm saying? Like South Orange. So that was like, like almost like what a reversal from nothing to the Garden to playing at Seton Hall and winning and beating them and being a high scorer and all that. And so after that was the junior year. So now the senior year is coming. Jack Powers is like Raftery. He's a big Irish Catholic dude. I'm in a Jesuit school. He's the head of the NIT. Was the head of the NIT for 20 years. He's well known. He's a New York legend, Irish guy. And he loves me. He's like, this is my guy here, And my senior year comes and he takes the athletic director's position. And they bring in this guy, Brian Mahoney from St. John's, to coach us. He played at Manhattan, played for the Nets a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was in some of the schools, we hadn't kind of got rid of the best players playing. It was still the alumni and this engineering school. And I had Mike Huggins over there from Weekway, killer. Vinny Harris from East Orange, he came over. Big Vin, played with me at Essex. We had the Dominican national team, Hector Baez, my boy Sergio, and we was ready to roll. And this guy, what he did was he recruited a couple of other kids, and they were of a different persuasion, I would say. And they didn't want too many of us starting at one time at that point. I would have to allude to, because why would you want to lose? So they started running a 3-guard offense. I start off, so going into the senior year, this was the big highlight for my whole career. The All-American, preseason All-American team come out in Playboy magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So they got Magic Johnson, Bird, David Greenwood all on the cover, Sidney Moncrief, Duncanstein, that's the cover. Then they go on the next list and they're like, these are all the forwards and centers and guards, the best guards and centers in the country that will be All-Americans by the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So some guy in my dorm, he comes running down like, Joe, come here. You're in Playboy magazine. I'm like, what? I'm a junior, going to my senior year. And they got you as a preseason All-American. So I'm in there with Gary Garland, Kyle Macy from Kentucky, Darnell Valentine, Kansas, so all the big schools, UCLA, the top guards in the country were all there. And I'm thinking, man, this is, these guys these are potential first rounders here. My senior year and I start killing it. I start out averaging 27. I'm just killing it. I'm leading in scoring. I'm up for the top player in the East, the Haggerty Award. I'm a preseason All-American. And even though the guy's running the 3 guards, no problem, because anybody 6'5" or 6'7", trying to guard me is going to be a problem. And so the first half of the year, I'm like 27. And then I think we were playing Temple. So now I got the Golden State Warriors at the game. Detroit Pistons is at the game. Everybody's scouting me. It's all in the newspaper. They're here to scout Walter. So I'm like, this is crazy. How did this happen?
Yeah.
So we ain't talking about Alt St. Aug. We're talking about division. I'm up in Syracuse giving it to Roosevelt Bowie. We at Kentucky. We're at Connecticut. We got Temple ranked. And Ricky Reed was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And he's a guard. And I used to always be like, you McDonald's All-American, or this guy here was, what they have, Street and Smith. I'm like, okay.
Making your mental notes, throughout the years, absolutely.
So I'm coming up. I got the Cleo Hill defense. I'm rolling. He said, you're a gunfighter. When you start averaging, when you walk in the gym, it's your reputation's at stake. So, and I'm trained, I'm in great shape, and I'm not scared of nobody. Mm-hmm. I go up on Ricky, and I'm running him up and down, turning him. I strip him, going lefty. Boom, and dunk. And I already it's the first quarter. I got 14. I'm about to get 40. We got the dog then.
That's right.
Competition. Philly, Temple, you're going to get this 40, nigga. Excuse me for getting hyped. But,
we good. No, absolutely. I love it.
I ain't got no coach backing me. Ain't nobody put me on a team. Ain't nobody gave me no special, privileged treatment. I got to take what's mine. Mm-hmm. And I'm not flunking out. I'm not going to go out on drugs. And on this court, if you beat me man to man, I'm going to go work harder to get better. And man, I gave it to him so hard. So what happened was Manhattan, my junior year, I have to say, we'd had no home court. We played all our games on the road. So we played Fairfield, I gave it to them, So senior year, they're saying, I'm unstoppable. I got a chance to be the best player in the East. I came out the top JUCO transfer in the East, Eastern Basket Magazine. I was all Metropolitan. All this stuff was just dropping. So now I'm averaging, Larry Bird averaged 28 that year. I'm averaging 27. Nikki Galis from Seton Hall ended up averaging 26 or 27. But this new coach, and I don't want to blame him, but it was like, I'm like, why would you have me on somebody 6'7" like Sylvester Sly Williams or Abdel Anderson from Rutgers when I'm a preseason All-American guard? And you're playing these two miniature dudes that don't even belong out here.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the Dominican national team, 6'7", Hector Baez, my boy from, 4'6'7" dudes on the bench. I felt bad. We all knew what time it was. I still crushed it. So the Temple game, I got hurt. And the coach from Temple was a scout for the Sixers. Not Chaney, but Casey.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't come back out. He came in the locker room. And he's like, "You all right? What's going on? What are you?" So I get a letter from the general manager of the Sixers. I'm like, damn, I got a letter from the NBA. And he's like, call us. We're getting ready for the draft. So a scout turned in the report. So I'm out for like maybe 3 games, because what happened was when you play on a rubber court and your sneakers rubber, I'm accelerating and going up to dunk. And so I twinged my Achilles. I didn't tear it, but I twinged it and it spasmed. And it kept me out for a few weeks. But then I came right back. I came back and I just got back on a tear, 25, 30, and I'm shooting 60%, And what happened was the big game was in Madison Square Garden. It was a doubleheader my senior year. And everybody from Newark, everybody was over there. It was a doubleheader in the Garden. So Rutgers was playing Minnesota. Minnesota had Kevin McHale on the team. Rutgers had James Bailey, right, and Abdel. And then Manhattan was playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame had Bill Laimbeer, Orlando Woolridge, Tracy Jackson, Kelly Tripucka. They had 5 first-round draft picks on their team. Digger Phelps. And so my PR guy comes in. They're like, they're going to slaughter Manhattan, or whatever. So my PR guy comes in. He says, "Joe, do you look out there? It's a doubleheader. Kevin Lockery's out there. Red Auerbach's there." Because they were there to scout those other guys. Notre Dame, Bill Laimbeer went to Detroit, Kelly. I mean, these guys are all like All-Americans. So the guy looks at me and he says, "Jojo, you've done great, but if this is a blue chip team right here, and if you choke, it's probably going to impact your draft. They're going to say Jojo can't play against blue chip players." I'm like, "Oh, gee, thanks." Right before the game, Kevin, So I go out there and my sister's there. The people on my block is there. And I was just like, I was looking and I'm like, Orlando Woolridge, he's 6'10", played for, Chicago. And I'm like, whatever. So my boys, all my buddies, that was funny because they said, "Man, we playing in the Garden, dude." We played all our home games in the Garden. And I remember this. And my boys, I'm like, "Look, I wasn't saying nothing. I just knew that this was that moment this is that one shining moment that you got to show up." So all of a sudden the crowd, it was deafening, but I couldn't hear nobody. And all of a sudden the game kicked off and they said, "Joe, you're playing guard. You're going to run the 4 corners." So they spread it, the big team. Their team was huge. We spread them out and I was weaving all through them, coming out, popping it, getting it back, weaving all through, doing that Chris Paul mid-range. Weaving and just popping up, zing, zing. Now I got 28, 11. I lead the game in scoring and rebounds. They win, but I got the whole Garden like, "Get him." They was like, rooting me, the dog, like, "Get him, Walters, man. He gonna beat him by himself, So that game, that was a big, huge game, not only for me, but for my block, for the family, in the Garden, doubleheader. There was guys over there copping drugs and stuff and came to the game like, man.
A lot of things going on. Absolutely.
What's going on? They all
Yeah.
They got big beaver hats on. "Yusef, get him, boy." And I'm giving it to them. And so every time they came to the Garden, I showed up. And so the thought was, like the NBA was, what I got more out of it was when I went home, the block or the people like, "Yusef, you killed him." You would stay up all night talking about the game. I'm like, I did good. My brothers and them would be proud, So the season's over. I make All Metropolitan again.
Yeah.
It was disappointing because I knew there was no margin for error. I had 4 different coaches in 4 years, 3 different schools, but I'm not letting nothing defer my dream. So the draft is coming out. And I think at the beginning of the year, I think I was going to get Jordan's agent back then, because we're talking 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And
David Falk was back there too.
right back then. Yeah, they said Falk is interested in you, and the athletic director Jack said he's got too many other players. He's not going to do anything for you. So they gave me some guy named Gilbert Glass from Jersey City. He was really a bum. He was nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And the draft came out, and I got drafted by the Washington Bullets, right? Which was a surprise. I thought I was going to Sixers. I thought maybe Detroit or even Golden State, because the guard I replaced went to Golden State, made the team and started that year. And my numbers was crazy. I ended up like at 23, 22-7. Mm-hmm. Everybody knew I could lead the nation in scoring, but what the other coach, he took the ball away from me and took care of the guys or whatever. But I still had a great stat line, and I got the draft. We celebrated because they said, Joe, if there's any spot on the team, we know you're getting it. That's just the playing part of it was not a problem. So I remember I got the official letter from the Washington Bullets. The draft came out. I was drafted, and they were the world champs. And I was like, man, why not the Nets? Why, this is the world championship team. Yeah. Phil Chenier. So Phil Chenier retires that year. So it's one spot open. So I'm training with dudes that just got back from Rahway State Prison. Seth, come on, let's go run hills. I'm like, all right, they're not just guys I grew up with, we getting ready because I don't know what's there, but we going to take it. That's how we think it, So I remember my girlfriend from Orange, the Bullets were funny. They would bring you down for the Coalition League, right, first. So all the draftees came in. They drafted 9 guards, right? And I'm on the back end of that. And I'm the guy from Iowa, this guy, he's from blah, 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 Georgetown. So we get in camp. And I'm not afraid. Like, my thing is, I want to know if I'm qualified or I'm not. Because, I ain't going to make up. I'm not embellishing any stories. I just want to know for myself. Mm-hmm. I get into Coalition. John Thompson is there because he remembered me. And I didn't get in. I didn't get in. I got in one game. And it was against my idol, the Wizard, Gus Williams, who I watched, who I used to look up to for a minute. Then he pulled me out, and I didn't complain though. And so the general manager, Bob Ferry, came down, and it was a guy named Andrew Parker. He was the number 4th pick. He was the 4th pick. He's about 6'4". He was talking about, I didn't come here to be sitting on no bench in no summer league, blah, blah, blah. Then the other guy started complaining. I ain't saying nothing. I'm like, And then I'm feeling like, man, if I get cut now, man, this is going to be crazy. I can't explain this at home. So the general manager come down. He says, you, I'll be talking to you. You guys won't be coming back. I'm like, oh, man, it was drafted higher than me. So he says, Jojo, he said, I watched you all summer. You never complained once. You'll be coming to rookie camp. I'm like, oh, stuff. So I go back. I get the letter. They put me up at the hotel down here. So I go into the rookie camp. And so there's free agents and rookies. And there ain't no veterans in there. So I'm going off. So they bring 3 of us to veterans camp. So now I'm getting really excited. I'm going to veterans camp. So all the benches start pulling up, world championship team. I'm like, the girls are all there. It's an open practice. My boys at Howard University are coming because they're coming to see. So they got Larry Wright, me, Kevin Greavy's holding out, Chenier retired. I knew that there was no spots there, but I'm like, maybe there is. Also, you had free agents coming in the camp.
Right.
I'm like, I'm waiting to get burned. I'm waiting for somebody to eat me up or show me I don't belong here. And I'm just not seeing it. I'm stripping nigga. I'm just giving it to them. The Washington Post is writing me up. And the guy, Larry Wright, they said if anybody could make the team, he can. And so that got in the paper. And I was like, ooh, this is good. My boys from Howard University, it was like, Joe, man, they're talking good, So Kevin Greavy signs. He's not a free agent no more. He comes. And so it's coming to the end. We get ready to go play the Sixers, an exhibition. And I remember that day, like Bobby Dandridge and Elvin Hayes, they loved me. They was like, and then the big guy, Ballard, they was calling me over. Hey, Joe, come here, man. Here's our number, blah, blah, blah. I'm feeling something's happening. So Ferry cuts the 2 other guards. Lamont Reed, I hear him out there cursing, man, why you keep me this long? I could have went to Italy, blah, blah. So he scooted them off, and the guy from Virginia Tech, he let him go. So he came up to me, and I was eloquent. I'm like, Coach, I just want to thank you for this opportunity. This was an immeasurable learning experience. And he says, hold on. And this was like, for me, this was like music to my ear. It wasn't like, like he was trying to make me feel good. So he said, this is a numbers game here, Joe. We're world champions. He said, but you can play in the league. He said, you can play here. He said, here's my cell phone number. Here's my secretary's number. And I said, I want you to stay in touch with me. So I'm going to get you a 10-day shot with the Nets with Charlie Theokas. So I'm going, I walked out because I felt I did my work,
Yes,
I felt
absolutely.
good. I got home. I told everybody. So I ended up, and I was also drafted in the CBA. So I went there. Lancaster Red Roses, me and Glenn, we was on the same team. And at this point, basketball, people were saying, go to Italy, because the guys the Italian team was in the veterans camp trying to pick the guys that were in veterans camp to go. And I'm like, I'm either going to play in the NBA or I'm getting a job.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know why I was feeling like that, but it's my father, he was from the islands, from Jamaica, right? So he's like, man, you got to get a job. This is a game. He's like, he wasn't for,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of had to go away for a while. So the lights is out, me and my older sister's at the crib. And I'm going, all right, sis, I got you. I got to get this money. We're going to be all right. So I went out there. So Ferry said, go out to LA and play in the Pro Summer League. So I got out to LA to the Pro Summer League. The LA Pro Summer League, destroyed it. We went 8-2 in 10 games. I had Detroit. Here's a funny story. The letter I told you I got in college from Detroit Pistons. I'm out there starving, literally. Somebody gave me a little bit of money and I was staying at somebody's basement. I would take 3 buses to the gym, Cal State Dominguez. I had T-shirts with Jojo on the back, marketing myself. We're playing the Knicks, everybody. We go 8-2 in 10 games. And what happened was, what happened out there? Oh, so before you get into the summer league, you got to try out 450 people. Now that 48 get on the free agent teams. I'm on the coach from the Detroit Pistons. I never met him. His name was, what's that guy's name? I got his letter. So I'm playing for him and don't even know it. And he goes, I got 33 3/4, right? This is trying out to get on a summer league team, the free agent.
Yeah.
So the dude's like, Mike Bronker is his name. If you Google him, you'll see Mike Bronker, assistant coach of Detroit Pistons. So I'm playing for him, but I got a letter from him in college. I'm out of college now. I never met him. And he's letting me just go off. I'm like, I don't even know this dude, but I'm just like playing for my life, literally. And I'm getting it. I'm having one of them games. I got 33. It's another quarter to go. He says, Jojo, come out the game. He sent me up in the stands. And I see these 2 Caucasian gentlemen, big Irish dudes, is Jack McCloskey and Scotty Robinson, general manager and head coach for Detroit. So they pull me up there. For me, this is a big deal. Now I'm talking to the general manager and the head coach, and they're saying, Mike told us about you, blah, blah, blah. And we would put you on our free agent team, but we drafted some players. But I brought Scotty here. He's going to stay and watch you play. So the summer's going great. I'm like, man, all this is going to come together. Because I wanted to get the contract out of pride. I wanted to go home and say, man, we in. Y'all, if I'm in, everybody's in, We're playing the Knicks, Herb Williams, and we're giving it to the Knicks. Last game, and I go up. I'm going to show this leaping ability, grab the ball, come down on Herb Williams' foot and break my ankle. Bam. Just like that. It was just like stupid. And it was a kind of spraying like Kyrie got, where you're under and you come down and crunch, and I couldn't even move my foot. It was just shaking. And my coach, he was the coach for the in the CBA, the Alberta Dusters. My coach in the league was the coach for them. I could go to the Philippines, Golden State. I had a couple options to go to camp. And I ended up, my boy who went to Pepperdine on my team, he said, no, don't go back to Newark. Stay here with me. This guy was rich, beautiful home. His mother was an actress. His father played for the Rams, beautiful. And I'm like, I can't stay here with my ankle broke. Yeah. So I ended up coming, I left all them palm trees and Malibu Beach and all that, man, came back home on the block. And it's like New Jack City when I get home. I'm sitting on the porch with a cast and all the crazy, everybody's crazy now, cracks. It's nuts. And I'm sitting there like, wow, feeling kind of depressed. Lights is off. It's hot as hell, And I just started thinking, man, I got to get a job. I got to get out of here. I can't get stuck here. And so, there's more to the story, but it would take a long time to go through the whole thing. But that little spirit that I gained in the back of that playground, that voice I would hear that would say, go run, go get ready. I don't know what you're getting ready for, but just get ready.
Yeah.
It came back to me, and I got depressed. And everybody that was doing whatever they was doing, some said, do not go in that room again, ever. Go downstairs. I removed myself and threw my mattress down on the first floor. And I said, nobody come on my floor. I laid on that mattress and I started dreaming. For 2 weeks, I stayed there. They're like, what's the matter? Is you depressed? Blah, blah, blah. You know, the agent was like, you want to go here? I just was laying there. And then something said, get up and start running. So I put my gear on. I ran on up for South Orange. I'm just running, you know, and they're like, run past the liquor store. They're like, where you going, man? You getting ready? And that voice was saying, get ready for life.
Mm-hmm.
Just beginning. Basketball is life. You know, the discipline, you know, the ability to humble yourself, to learn, to improve. It also transfers into your life skills. And if you want to be great, if you want to be the best that you can be, to thine own self be true. Tell yourself the truth. You don't speak well. You don't write well. You know, you're not organized. Those are the things you work on, like you worked on your left hand and you're shooting. And he said, don't let nobody tell you where you can't be. You're not smart enough. You can't have this. You can't get that job. It's this. I'm like, not believing it. And so then I started this process called the reinvention of oneself.
Okay.
And I reinvented myself. I learned to speak well. I learned I would date people that had good diction. And I would say, if I say but, and it should be however, I want you to correct me. So I started like sparring, searching, and then I'm saying, I'm going to get, and so I liked money. I didn't have a car. And I said, I'm going to get in sales. So my buddy got a job at Nabisco, right? He's my boy from South Orange, right? And he's like, you got to wear the blue blazer and you got the little suit in the car. I'm like, okay. You know, he went to school with me. He studied marketing. And so I wanted to be a social worker. I wanted to help. I was always trying to gather the kids. Come on, I can do it. We can all do it. I was like that role model on the block. Come on, we can do it. We can get it. So when I went through this transformation, it was like, as soon as I did it, I ended up, the newspaper rolled up on me. Everybody that said you're not qualified, my brain clicked in and said, you are. Here's what you're going to put on your resume. Here's what you're going to say. And I remember people said, don't mention basketball. They're going to think you're a dumb job. And I remember I'm going to skip to how I ended up in Maryland. I followed my boy from Boston College over to a recruiter, sales consultant. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, I studied marketing and sales. I wasn't going to be working at Liberty Mutual in Saddlebrook any longer. You know, let's go over there. Joe, come with me. You can get in. So I go over and I meet this gentleman, big Irish guy, man. He's real sharp, sales consultant. He says, you want to do sales? Let me see your resume. He looks. And the first thing he says, Manhattan College, basketball, co-captain. Jojo Walters? I'm like, yeah. He said, how come you're not playing? I've seen you play against Notre Dame in the Garden. I'm like, okay. So he said, wow, what's going on? He wanted to hear the story. And I'm like, dude, there's no story. This is what I got to do. And he said, can you take constructive criticism? I said, of course. So he said, go get a blue suit, black shoes that lace across, a white shirt, and a burgundy tie. Come back and take this script and read it. So with the lights out, I would read that script. I'm Joe Walters. What are your goals? Tell me, So I went through this whole rehearsal thing. I got back. He sent me up to Morris Plains to Warner Lambert. I wasn't supposed to get the job. I got it, moved me to Philly. And I was selling consumer products. And then I found out that the big money was in medical devices, not pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
And I said, I'm going to get that job. And he's like, Joe, man, you got a D in biology with extra credit, bro. How you going to get a job going into surgery? You wasn't even you was almost special ed. How you going to get that? I'm like, whatever I focus on, I could do it. So I went to a recruiter after 3 years at Warner Lambert. And I said, I want the most elite job in the medical device industry. And they're like, who are you talking to? Like, brother, bro, like, come on, really? And I said, well, don't call me. 2 weeks later, I get a call from Johnson & Johnson. And it's Ethicon that makes sutures and they make intestinal staplers where if they take your colon out, they use these auto sutures to cut the colon out. Or they, like a pneumonectomy, take your lungs out, or a gastrectomy to take half of your stomach. So this was, so you actually, the reps had to scrub and learn how to do these surgeries in animals, and so they sent me a book on anatomy and physiology. Now, again, I got a D in biology with extra credit. I mean, I was in summer school every summer. But when they told me how much money you could make, I'm like, I turned into Magnum cum every 100,000. I was Magnum cum laude. I'm like, what? I don't want to talk to nobody. Give me the book. So that's where basketball became life, because sales is competition. You know, it's a performance-driven profession. If you don't make your quota, you get fired. Your quotas are quarterly and annual. You know, and you can win the President's Club. You can be Rep of the Year, Player of the Year. You can make additional monies. You can make really serious money if you know. And so, man, once I locked into that, you know, I stayed there for 11 years, and that's where my career took off. You know, and it was, again, there was no business courses I took. It was just about making a change in myself. You know, and I call it getting in shape for life. You know, and I'm not looking for no excuses. I don't care if you're the coach's son. I don't want to hear nothing about racism. I'm getting through. I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm making it. You know, I'm going to be qualified. You know, you give me a shot, and if I can't do it, fire me. I ain't complaining. Yeah. And man, that was a beautiful thing. So that journey took me places and got me involved in things I could never imagine. Basketball really was the second hardest challenge. When I got that job and they said, you're going up to Somerville, you're going to be trained by a board certified surgeon. He's a professor at Robert Wood Johnson, and he's going to train the class for 8 weeks. And if you score less than 85, you're out. And a part of it was going in animal labs, like doing a pneumonectomy in a goat. You know, you had to be able to perform surgery like a surgeon, but in an animal. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I'm scared to take a rat off the trap, you know, like, but, you know, we came down to the cadaver lab. I mean, if you were a pre-med student, maybe that's not a stretch for you. You know, like if you were pre-med at Duke or something like that and you got that job. But for me, man, it was like Moses walked on water and Jesus is real. It had to be a miracle or an act of God, but it really was the determination and the discipline of wanting to be good at something that you could transfer. So, you know, so I ended up doing that. I moved up. I was a rep. I became a trainer, training manager. They moved me as a district manager to Ohio. I ran that for 4 years, a state. That we introduced laparoscopic surgery. That's how they do arthroscopy on your knees. Started doing laparoscopic surgery. I trained 4,000 surgeons. They put me into Cincinnati, into the Endosurgery Institute. I did that. And that facility was 150,000 square feet, 15 operating rooms, 14 were sterile. So we trained all the surgeons on how to do laparoscopic surgery. They stopped opening up your abdominal cavity and taking your gallbladder off the liver bed. They started going through your belly button laparoscopically. So we were the first to invent those instruments. So we're training surgeons, you know. So then I started running the program, domestic, international. And then I got recruited to Medtronic, you know, and Medtronic was a pacemaker defibrillator company. So I ran the Southeast for them, you know. It's an amazing ride, man. Amazing, you know.
It's Mr. Walters, it sounds like it. It sounds like it. I just, you got me about to go run up South Mountain Reservation.
Dude, let me tell you, my friends now remember, because, you know, a lot of my friends were affluent. You know, my friends from South Orange, that went to Newark Academy. Then I had friends whose family were physicians and cardiologists, and they were my friends. And they would bring me up to the Jack and Jill things. You know, it was interesting. And I got exposed. And, but when I took them down to where I lived, they're like, holy, you know, like, I mean, they're like, dang, this is crazy, dude. You know, like, I'm like, hey, man, it's okay. You know, it's all right. We're good. Character and integrity has nothing to do with where you live.
That's right. That's right.
Who are you? You know, loyal. Do you have character? Do you believe, you know, are you a person that walks upstanding? Do you want to be a better human being? Because I'm not a follower, never have been. You know, I'm a leader. You know, and I'm not impressed with Newark or nowhere. The world is mine. As a man, the world should be yours, not where you're from. Yeah. Anywhere I go, I can eat the best foods, pay for my hotel, converse with the best people in town. Because if you're walking as a king, the world is yours. That's what I would come back to Newark. My younger brothers all recovered from drugs. My whole family that went through this whole drug, you know, opioid epidemic. We came back, and my younger brother's a big pastor in Newark, man. That's my favorite. My youngest brother, my next to my youngest brother, recovered, married, 30 years clean. Yeah. And I said, how about we open up our own, you know, clinic instead of you being the counselor? Wouldn't it be interesting if you went from a drug addict to owning your own counseling service? So we bought a building. We got it licensed by the state. And we've been open since 2005, 2014, Angel Hope House. And we got 21 beds in there and just continue to move on, you know? So
absolutely. And you didn't even talk about, obviously, the motivation speaking that you also do as well.
Dude, everybody told me since I was 11, I'm a motivational speaker. I'm inspirational. Come on, we can do it. We can make it. This is how my energy flows. Mm-hmm. So I created something called Joseph the Speaker. And what happened was my oldest brother, they all went through their bouts. He said, I need you to come back to Newark. I'm like, okay, I'm always there. He said, I need you to talk to the alternative ed kids. Weekway. And he said, but not just Weekway, the whole board.
Yeah.
I said, really, Jim? He said, look, I know that you couldn't even do a fraction, boy. He said, I know you. He said, I've seen you do some things. I don't understand how you even got where you got. We can't figure this out. But he said, they need to hear the story. So I would do it there, and I would do it at my brother's church with the recovering people and the prisoners.
Okay.
And I would tell them that when I was done, they were CEOs when they walked out. Because I could give you the blueprint. I'm not giving you a hypothetical. I'm not giving you some story. I'm telling you what I did.
Right.
And this is what you can do. So when I talked to those alternative ed kids, I talked for 2 hours. And they said the teachers were like, usually they would get ready. You're like, I don't want to hear, man, go on. Who is he, Uncle Tom? Man, I knew what it was like to sit at a desk and not be able to read. See, I could get right there with them. I knew when you can't do a fraction, an addition, a fraction, a long division, and the little girl over there is looking at you, you think, or you got to read out loud and you can't. Your rage might not be because you're a bad kid, you're embarrassed. Or how you going to pass a spelling bee or spelling test if your lights is off and somebody's smoking crack? Are you learning disabled or are you in a bad learning situation? And so when I would drill in like that, and then I would tell them the journey, how all these things happened, they would be like, holding on. I'm like, you say you tough, right? Don't be scared. I don't have no limitations on where I'm going. You say hard to the mustache, no punking out, go take what's yours. Because otherwise you're scared. I don't want to hear no racism. I'm going to get what's mine, opportunity. Good attitude and opportunity meets, and you go take that. Yeah. So I come back, and I speak. I can speak on any venue, anywhere, and it's josephthespeaker.org. So I do a lot of corporate training. I do corporate coaching. I do creating and sustaining high performing teams. I'm certified in that to get organizations to work together, stop fighting and infighting. And then also I just go raw, whether you went with your Crip blood or, you got learning disabilities, let me in the room. We're coming out, we're winning,
No,
So
definitely not. Yeah. Definitely, Mr. Walters. Like I said, just take it back. Like I said, I really appreciate all it. Like I said, just hearing your story, just everything. Like obviously where basketball is taking you. I mean, that's a snippet of your life, you know what I mean? But obviously it was still a vehicle, for you, you know what I mean? So I really appreciate this. I'm not going to let you off the hook just that fast. So like I do with everybody, I'm just going to have you go back in time just a little bit with me here.
Yes.
If that's okay. Yeah, just I just like to put people on the spot a little bit.
Absolutely.
So whenever you're back seeing the family in Jersey or just Jersey, you're Parkway or Turnpike guy?
Okay, so when I leave Maryland, I do the Turnpike up, and then when I get to exit 10, I think it is, or 8 near New Brunswick, I get on the Parkway.
Get on the Parkway?
Yeah.
All right.
South Orange Avenue.
Yeah.
I get off there, and now my sister lives in Orange, across from Orange Park. Went from homeless to a great apartment. My 2 brothers live on Ellery Street.
Yeah.
In Ellery and Norman Road. They both have houses. My niece is down here with me. So my father and my mother would be so very proud that in spite of all the obstacles that the family had, my father told me, he said, all I want you to do is keep the family together. That was my mission. So everybody's great, man. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, bring some more.
Sure, no problem. 7th Ave or South Orange Ave?
7th Ave, like what's the relationship? 7th Ave?
No relationship, just a random.
Well, South Orange Avenue, right? I'm on 7th Street and South
Orange.
I
apologize. I meant to say 7th Street.
Yeah,
7th Street, South Orange.
13th Avenue and South Orange, right? So the Boys Club is 13th Avenue, and South Orange Avenue is just where all the action is.
Yeah.
I would run up South Orange Avenue, past the liquor store, past my brother and them out on the corner, or I would go out and evangelize on the corner.
Yeah.
I would stop there, pull up my company car, and started trying to pull all the guys that used to go box and all that, man, put the needle down. You can do, get out and start sparring with him. Where your heart at? Those are the days. that would be my joy. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Mayor Gibson or Mayor James?
Wow, that's interesting because Mayor Gibson, I remember from my father's time. So I was very young with Kenneth Gibson. Sharp, I didn't know because I got inducted in Newark's Hall of Fame in 2001. And Sharp was the one that brought me in.
Right.
So I didn't get to know him, and they had the thing at the Robert Treat. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bambergers or Universal?
Oh man. I gotta, you know what? Now I usually would be with my older brother, right?
Okay.
I remember Bambergers, but as I got into high school, Bambergers was a spot because they had really cool clothes,
Yeah,
Universal, you got your Converses, you got your Gabardine gear, all your Slick Kangos, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say I couldn't make a pick between the two because they were both significant.
Okay.
Both significant stores. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Bragman's or Cooper's?
Oh my God. Bragman's. I'm a Bragman's guy.
Right.
My family loved Cooper's. I liked Cooper's, but when it comes to like real corned beef or pastrami,
mm-hmm.
I like the kosher. Like there was a place, Peter and Frank's,
mm-hmm.
or Ross Common House. They would make, it was like Bragman's was Jewish. They would steam that pastrami and corned beef right. Now if I'm gonna go for the big, roast beef sandwich or something, I could do Cooper's. But we did them both. But I think I'm more Bragman's. Mm-hmm.
Vellsburg or Manhattan?
Vellsburg, I don't have a lot of relationship, and Manhattan was. I don't have it wasn't like the fun college situation.
Okay.
Vellsburg went fast, man. It was like finding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All I remember is junior year, you're starting, and all of a sudden life started. I mean, I just started dropping crazy numbers and it went like a flash.
Mm-hmm.
Manhattan was fun because my father, my brothers, everybody was coming to the Garden. We went to Seton Hall and packed Seton Hall out. Mm-hmm. And by the grace of God, I've never choked. I mean, I was always, I would never score under 20 or 30, I would get it in, and that made the block, the family, everybody proud. For 2 days, they'd be talking about it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Hey, Joe, that was, so I got more out of that than for me,
Yeah. I know you used to play by yourself. You talked about this, working out by yourself. But when you had the opportunity to go to a playground or play somewhere, whether it was Jersey or New York, what was the best playground for you to play at?
Okay, so I'll give you two. I'm glad you brought that up. So here's the story. I'm a senior at Vellsburg, right?
Okay.
And some dude, a friend of mine, he said, I'm going to take you up to Elmwood Park. Never been there in my life.
Yeah.
I had never been there.
Mm-hmm.
And he put me in a car. We drive up there, and I'm like, holy, the lights, beautiful court, the park, all the pretty girls, And so I'm like, wow. I never went to Barringer to play. I never went up to West Side Park, nowhere, just that. So I get up there, and I walk in, and I'm like, let's see if I can get a run. So the team from Weequay, their JV, Kabubi, with the lollipops, Kabubi was there, and he remembered me from dropping 43 on Weequay. And so the JV was like Brett Huggins and Devitt Ross and them, Archie Tyson. They're like, that's that guy Walters. So I said, you think I could get a run? And he said, sure. They brought me over to Kabubi. I said, what? Kabubi said, man, you want to run here? Gave me a T-shirt. So now I'm on Elmwood Park's court for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And guess who we playing? Kelly Chapuka.
Okay.
And I'm like, so Booby just let me go, and I just went into it. I scored 40 points, and then that solidified me with Kabubi. That's my dude, Walters. No. So then I went over to Green Acres when it first opened. I played over there one time. I scored 40 points over there. Then I never played anywhere else except the Rucker.
Okay.
I played the Pro Rucker. We went in the Pro Rucker, brought our team over. We almost took the Rucker. They had to cheat to beat us. We took third when we should have won. Then we would go downtown to West 4th Street. We won the West 4th Street twice in a row. We beat Boogie Down Bronx, Harlem, USA, Brooklyn. I mean, we was destroying them dudes. Yeah. And see, I went to school over there, so I'm all Met. So I'm in South Bronx playing. I'm with Tiny Archibald and them over at, I'm trying to get my skills up. And so we're playing St. John. So I spent a lot of time in New York going to school there.
Yeah.
And I played all over the city, but we won West 4th Street, our crew, 2 years in a row, and they were mad. Jersey team came and took that. Then we'd go right uptown and play in a pro rocker. Sam Worthing, all them dudes. I got Grover Woolard with me, Nate Granger. We over there just giving it to them. Mm-hmm. And we took third, but they cheated. They was like, Jersey can't win over here.
It sounds about right. It sounds about right.
Yeah, we had Kim Fisher with us. We had a good squad. Yeah. But that was all fun, man. Played a lot. I played in all the bigger leagues, the CBA, the Eastern League. I was in the backcourt with John Williamson.
Super John.
Super John. Me and I got articles with me and him. I'm like, John, I outscored you today. Me and John. There was my man in the Eastern League, the Jersey Blazers. Mm-hmm. I played with Miss Green. We were putting work in.
Yeah. Speaking of work, did you ever? You had a go-to move, or you just played?
You know what? It's strange because I would watch and learn, right? Like I would always. So here's how I learned how to play guard, because I played center in high school.
Okay.
And I used to look at guys that could handle, because I'm always looking to improve. So I saw Lorenzo, Greg Tynes, Davey Evelyn. So when we played Weekway, I scored so many points on them. Lorenzo, who was older than me, I met him later, and I said, man, you got a sweet handle, Lo. He said, man, could you teach me how to jump like that? And I said, come on, you could work out with me. You show me the handle. So he showed me that. And then when I got to Essex, Cleo just made me a killer. I could go left, right. I could, I knew how to freeze the action, and my first step was usually after the first step, game's over, typically. Once I beat you on the first step, there's no way you're going to do nothing with me. Mm-hmm. Because if I jump, you're going to get my waist in your face. And as far as beating somebody off the dribble, it was easy, left or right. I could shoot the banker left or right. I could lay left or right. I could, my vertical was crazy. And
it sounds like however they wanted it. Yeah, that's how he's looking. However they want it.
All over the country, I gave it to everybody how they needed it. And,
absolutely.
So it wasn't nobody pumping me or he's one of us, none of that. It was like, you want it, you can get it. So give me the Newark Hall of Fame, Manhattan. I got in there in 2 years. Got me up on the banner. I'm the fourth leading. I think I got the 4 or 5 scoring average in the history of the school in 2 years. So I'm number 4, and I got the number 6 highest scoring average in the history of the school.
Yeah.
I should have led the whole thing. I should have been there. But hey, man, I did the best I could with what I could work with.
Right. That's right. With that said, was at any level, what was the best game of your life?
Oh my God.
If it's one that sticks out.
The craziest game I had. I got it right here too. You see how Dame Lillard and Steph is shooting?
Yes.
Okay, so we're playing an Ivy League school, Columbia, right? Mm-hmm. We got Alton Bird and Ricky Free from Brooklyn. They're good. This is a good team. And I'm a senior, and I noticed this 3-guard thing was kind of wacky. And I'm like, I am not going to be making up no excuses about what the coach did. So when the ball would come, so what happened was I started bringing the ball up, and I would just come past half court, and I just got in that zone I was telling you about, and I just started pulling. So this set the Big East field goal record before the Big East, ECA. Mm-hmm. I had 18 field goals, no layups, no foul shots. I was 18 for 20 something. I shot 64%, and they were all threes. Yeah. So I had like 38 or 36 points, no foul shots, nothing. And if it was a 3-point line, that would have been 66. And so the guy from they were saying he's not human. Like the shooting was like in the Daily News, they're like, this is the kind of shooting that makes pro scouts talk renegotiation. They start saying stuff like that in the paper. And I'm like, man, if I don't get nothing else, this is good. This is enough material right here. But that was a crazy game, even though it wasn't the biggest team, but it was like a zone, it was like I finally got free and was able to just get off, and they were all threes, just boom, 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 boom. Crazy.
Yeah.
The school remembers that. They remember that shoot next. It was.
I'm sure they do.
Sure they do. Wow, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
But that was interesting. The Weekway game in high school was like, I mean, it was like standing room only, you know, and they was talking stuff. They was laughing at us because we looked a little bit small and we're Velsburg coming down. They didn't know I lived down the hill. So, and then when we got done and walked out of there, it was like kind of a weird feeling like, wow, we can't believe these guys did this to us. You know, my brother, and we stayed up all night talking about that one. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
Toughest player you ever went up against?
Let me see, who can I remember? Who was the toughest player? I can tell you the only player that I ever felt any intimidation from was Gus Williams. Yeah. The Wizard, when I was in the Bullets camp and they said, when I was in the summer league and they said, Joe, go out there. I was idolizing Gus. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, you can't be looking at this dude. You got to go out and bust him, man. You know, he was good. I think one of the best players in college that I played against was Nicky Galis from Seton Hall. Okay. He played in the backcourt with Greg Tynes. Okay. And I played against him once. We won my junior year, but he was one of the best players. You know, he's in the NBA Hall of Fame. You know, he played in Greece. And we played my junior year. We played him and Greg Tynes, and my boy Sergio went to school with him. And we went up to Seton Hall. We won. And me and him was battling my senior year. We were both seniors together. And if without the injury, I would have battled him for the Haggerty Award for the best player in the East. Yeah. Me and him would have went for that. Yeah.
You're all Newark starting five in your area. In your era.
Let's see.
You don't have to be however. You got 5 guards, 5 forwards, however you want to do it.
You know, I'm biased, man. I used to be mad at the Newark City. I'm like, you know, but I will tell you, are you talking any era or just my era?
Your era.
I think back then, I think the best player, Edgar Jones is definite. All right. Edgar Jones, NBA, 10 years. You know, it was Edgar. I would have to say maybe Earl Williams from Central probably would be on the team, you know, because he was one of the guys they loved. Weekway, you probably would throw Jeff Granger in there. Okay. I'm thinking that's Central Weekway. Edgar. I think as a guards, I'm trying to think maybe out of Essex Catholic, maybe another guard or something, Cliff Anderson or somebody like that, you know. I'm trying to think, man. I can't, you know what?
It's okay. It's okay. No, those are great names.
Man, you know, I was trying to destroy everybody. You know, so.
Absolutely. And even with that said, I know Velsburg has since closed for years. You the best to ever come out of there?
Well, you know, they say GOAT on Facebook, you know, but there were some great players there. They took Group 2 state when I was a freshman, Larry Hargrove and Lee. I wouldn't claim myself as the best, but, you know, if I was a betting man, I would probably bet that I would be in the top 2 or 3, you know, if not number 1. Yeah. Yeah.
Any ever, just in general, who's the best high school player you ever seen?
Best I've ever seen. Because again, I didn't travel much other than with the city league, right?
What is your era, or even now, back then, however?
I would have to say, you know, high school players. Because, you know, again, I eliminated myself from watching. But I would have to say, you know, you probably would have like a Kyrie maybe, or, you know, or like the guy down in Camden, right? DeJuan
Wagner. Okay.
Wagner, I would have to say, because those are the guys that I remember hearing about. Gotcha. I'm sure there was a lot of other guys, you know, Eric Williams, all those different guys. They were all good players. It would be hard for me to name them. Okay. You know? Yeah, it would be hard.
Those solid right there. What's the best part about being Jojo Walters?
Well, you know what? I'm just really starting to live my life right now because my family is solid.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm a single dad. I have a son that's here with me. I was trying to get him here. He went to get a haircut. Yeah. So he's been with me since he's been 5. And so that's why I've stayed here. He's getting ready to start at the University of Maryland in the Robert Smith Business School.
Congrats.
He's kind of doing the commute out of the room, you know, right now. And that is my job, is to be an excellent father. You know, I've never been married. I've never lived anyone, but my job is to be a man of God, you know, and to be able to teach him how to be a great man, you know, and to operate with integrity, you know, and give him that security that I longed for growing up, that stability, you know.
Yeah. You think you've gotten your just due?
Yeah, you know what? I learned to be grateful, right? I learned to be thankful for everything, right? Yes. I was in bondage for a long time, and there was a lot of anger and bitterness And then I had to learn that I should own my own story. And I should be thankful for the opportunity I had. And so one of the things I talk about is owning your own story. Be proud of what you did. If you did it in Pop Warner and won a championship, own that and brag about it. Be proud of it. You did it in high school, own it. And never compare yourself to another.
Yes.
And so when I look back and I saw all the blessings I got, in spite of whatever, I never gave up, and I developed a tremendous amount of faith, and I was able to make my family proud, man, and be a good example for others, man. That's the best you could do in this world,
That's right. And having a son, you probably said this, but I'm asking anyway, as far as this, at this time in your life, this Mr. Walters here, what would you tell that senior year, 17, 18-year-old at Wellsburg? What advice would you give him?
Oh man, I would love to talk to him. I would just once I felt his energy and saw where he was,
okay,
I would tell him the world is yours.
Yeah.
The only thing that can stop you is how you think. You set high goals and be willing to be disciplined, humble yourself to learn. And I said, you can have the keys to the city. You can go anywhere you want. I said, it's all up to you. And then I would give him the stuff: by the sweat of your brow, you earn bread. Nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. If you're sleeping and dreaming, when you wake up, nothing's going to be there. Your refrigerator's empty. All right. Yeah. Roll up your sleeves and God blesses what you put your hands to. Put in the work, you're going to win,
Yeah. Mr. Walters, even right from the beginning, we shared the elementary school, 43, 44 students here. Like, you found your way up out of that. You found your way up out of everything else that you talked about and shared, and only got an inkling of your world and your life, just a little bit of time shared. But you said you've been playing for your life, whether it was metaphorically or actually literally. You've been playing for your life here. And like I said, I'm just so, again, take it back, inspired, to be honest with you. I mean, just listening to you, this time that we had here, and I just don't know what else to say. I think just in general, I want to officially, thank you for being officially you, helping me indirectly be officially me somehow, some way here. And like I said, this has just truly been a blessing, not only yourself, but the others, but in particular, I'm talking to you. This has been a blessing. And like I said, I just look forward to, just whatever else you got going on, please send my way or drop a line or whatever the case may be. Like I said, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And the pleasure was mine, really. I was praying about this, and because you can't be the best story never told. There's a time where, right now I'm getting ready. I'm going through a new manifestation right now.
Okay.
People are saying, I'm retiring. I'm like, I'm going to the gym swimming right now. I'm getting ready to get on the elliptical machine. I'm getting ready to make me that smoothie. I'm going to start studying because I'm getting ready for the next level. I'm never stopping. I'm just getting warmed up. Yes. Now I got the weights off the back. I don't know where I'm going to be. I'm trying to set new goals right now. I moved my maps out because I write down the goals, right?
Okay.
And you do, self-actualization. You have to see the roadmap, right? You set the goals. Like, I remember naming 3 companies that I was going to work for. My friends were like, you'll never get a job there. And I said, nope, I'm going to work for J&J, Medtronic, and Guyton. They pay $300,000. I'm getting that job. And sure enough, my mouth was like a tuning fork. And your faith goes out and it brings back.
Yes.
It brings back a return. It's manifestation of your words. So the sports psychiatrists teach athletes to envision yourself doing something. Remember, I told you I was 11. I was doing that just intuitively. Yeah. Hearing a buzz, and all of a sudden the moment comes, and now you're living that moment. We have not tapped into our true potential.
Yeah.
We're only limited by the goals we set.
No, well said. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Nah.
6 figures, why not 1 million? I want a good life. What's a good life to you? You might already have it. Having family, love. If you figured out how to be a good father or a good man, and knowing how to love your family, you're winning. What do you want? What have you been gifted to do, and you've been called to do?
Yes.
Now that's an inner struggle, because you're never going to be satisfied until you push yourself to go in that gifting that's in you. Like, you're supposed to be doing this. Okay, yeah, that's good, but that's not where I called you. Now, you scared, say you scared, and get out the way. But if you're going to be that dude, step up and be what you're supposed to be.
Be that dude. That's right. Yeah.
Dude, take it to the limit. Take it to the limit.
Nah.
Yes, sir.
Nah. Thank you. I appreciate the time spent with you.
Absolutely.
And like I said, I'm definitely not gonna make this the last time we communicate.
Dude, I'm sure it's them, man.
Your phone ring. You see my name. Don't hit decline.
Brother, man, I got you. I'm got you.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Thank you.
Thank you as well, man.
You be well. We'll talk soon.
Okay, be blessed, brother.
Likewise. Okay. All right. Well said. Well said. I think just Mr. Walters' journey, just from the streets of Newark to where he's at now, like I said, one hell of a run. And the run is continuing. It hasn't stopped yet, as he just alluded to towards the end. Just thank everybody, for this an opportunity just to hear people's stories or what have you there. Just want to thank everybody. And with that being said, though, I'm gonna just slide on out. I put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. Yeah.